My name is Savannah Lawrence, and I am the administrative director for Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp. And I'm going to make the quick little spiel because we have so much we want to talk about. So first and foremost, we will be doing a Q&A. So any questions you may have, please drop it down below. We'll try to answer all of them, but we really appreciate hearing from you. So if you have anything that comes up throughout our whole time, feel free to drop it down, but we will answer questions at the end. And we are just excited to talk about this topic. And so now we are going to pass it on to Sarah and Jessica, two YSSC directors from Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp. So here we go.
Hello, good morning. Oh my goodness.
Don't you love the technical difficulties that, make it so fun to, plan B. So thank you all for your patience as we get started today. No worries.
We are camp people, so we are used to pivoting quickly. So thank you for doing that with us. In case this is your first time joining us for Mornings on the Porch, this is a monthly webinar that we do with our families. We have a place at camp, you can actually see it behind us, called The Porch, where we meet with staff on a pretty regular basis in the morning to gather, encourage, equip, sometimes pivot when there are less technical difficulties, but things that arise. And so this is an opportunity on a monthly basis for us to gather with our families just like you joining us to share research, best practices, perspective, answer questions that come up for our families as they consider either coming to camp for the first time or even the 5th, 6th, 7th time. So if this is your first time, a special welcome. We're glad that you're here with us this morning. Before we dive into this topic, which I'm very excited for, we're going to get to it in just a moment. I actually have a special friend that I would love to introduce you to. Her name is Hannah Hellwedge. Her camp name is Rue. And she is a longtime friend of YSSC. She's served as a former counselor before. For the last 5 years, she served as a guest speaker. And we are delighted that she's actually coming on staff with us in this season to be our interim program director. So welcome, Hannah Hellwedge Rue. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself.
Hey, camp families. So good to virtually meet you and be with you this morning on the porch. My name is Hannah Hellwedge, but for sure my favorite people call me Rue. So if you call me Rue, consider yourself part of that group. And yeah, like Sprinkle said, I first joined the YSSC family as a girls counselor back in 2014. So a full decade ago now, which is crazy how time flies, and I've been a guest speaker over the past couple summers. My background is in church ministry and specifically working with youth and family ministry, but I'm super excited to be joining the team, the director team this summer as our interim program director. And my husband, Tim, or Teapot, is really excited to join us for this summer as well. I'm originally from the Northwest and he's originally from Colorado. So we are big outside people, big mountain people, and just can't wait to be with your campers all summer long. It's going to be a great time. And again, so good to meet you all.
Thanks for joining us, Hannah. We are so grateful to have you joining the team. We are going to be that much better because you are on it. So I'm looking forward to this time with you on the team. Many of you know that this is going to be my last Mornings on the Porch for this season. I am going to maternity leave. My husband and I are expecting our first child. And so
momentarily.
Yes, any day now. So I'm grateful that I made it to this Mornings on the Porch, but from now on in the March, April, and May one, you'll be excellently guided with Sarah, Salsa, and Hannah Rue taking the charge. So what are we talking about this morning, Sarah?
Thank you for asking. We've been really excited about this morning's topic. Last year in February, we did a Mornings on the Porch discussing how do I know if my camper is ready for camp? And if that's an interesting topic to you and you did not see that, you can hop on our website and view it now. But then we started talking about what about all those dear parents who say, my child's ready for camp, but I don't know if I am. We thought, like, let's sit down and talk about that,
Mhm.
because we as parents do find ourselves in places of being nervous or being worried when our kids try something new. How do I know if I'm ready? So, gosh, there's so many reasons that a parent might feel anxious about that. And if that is you and you're watching this, please know you are in such good company. Even I, who am a very seasoned camp mom, I was anxious when I first sent my oldest kiddo away to a 2-week camp. He was a rising fifth grader, 10 years old. He went knowing nobody. And I had all of those worries too. So I have been there.
It's almost hard for me to believe that you were nervous.
Well, when you have that little baby, you'll understand me more.
Yeah.
You know, we so want them to thrive. And of course, all of us are concerned about our kiddos' well-being. And you know, there's a lot of reasons why we might be anxious. It may be that, you know, if you haven't grown up in a family who went to camp and haven't discovered the joy and growth and amazingness of summer camp, you might not know why it's a wonderful experience for kids. Is it worth the investment? Is it worth the time? Perhaps we as parents sometimes don't want to miss out. We want to see every new step that our kids take. And so I want to see them do a ropes course for the first time. I want to be there when they learn archery. I want to be there to see every new friend they make. And so sometimes it's hard to release that opportunity to be there at every step. You know, I get it. Sometimes I would say as parents, you know, the world in the last decade or two feels a little more unstable, maybe a little less safe. And we have a tendency to want to protect more than rather than open the world to them. I feel like as a parent, I might need to be more vigilant. That can make us anxious about sending our child off to that big milestone of sleepaway camp. So just know you are not alone, and we're here to talk together about. So what do we do with those feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, I have another honor and joy to introduce another very special guest. We have a parent, Justin West, who's going to be joining us this morning to talk a little bit before we geek out on some of the research and tips that we have to actually give a grounded parent's perspective what it was like to send his daughter away to summer camp for the first time. So I think Popcorn's probably doing the matrix of getting Justin pinned and unmuted and everything, but I'd love to welcome Justin. All right, I think we got to get him.
There we go.
There we go.
So,
Perfect.
Getting a call I had to block right as you guys introed me. Well, thanks for having me. I think that, you know, this was a big issue. I think for me, I think I tend to be a little bit of a helicopter dad, which is totally different than how I grew up. I mean, I grew up just kind of going out in the wild and, you know, going out for hours, and like had a mom who's like, yeah, just make it back, you'll be fine. And it always worked out. But yeah, my daughter started talking about camp, I think when she was probably 6. And I said, oh, baby, you're too young. And then at 7, I said, you're too young. And at 8, she put her foot down and said, I'm going to camp this year. Right. So she was, I guess, a rising third grader. And I said, I'm not even sure you're old enough. I don't remember what the camp policy was. Maybe it was 9. I don't know if we snuck her in or exactly how that worked out, because she was going to turn 9 that summer. But yeah, she that month she did 2 1-week camps at Catalina, and then she did 2 weeks at YSCC. And so by the time she got there, I was like, all right, well, you did fine in Catalina. No sharks ate you. You'll probably be fine up in the Sierras. I think maybe the scary moment, and now I can't remember which year it was, or it's probably all years now, but there was like the big fire season going on. And so I remember thinking, okay, I've been up the Sierras a bunch. I'd gone to Gold Arrow growing up. So I kind of, you know, I knew the area, I'd camped up there a bunch, but I thought, okay, what's the road system like in case there's a fire? And what's your escape plan? And, you know, like, how have you prepared for this? And so I'm sure someone there remembers me calling at least twice, you know, asking about, okay, what's the evacuation plan? And, you know, how do I get my kid? I had my car loaded at all times to be up there in like 6 hours if I had to be to get her, or in a helicopter or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I guess for me, you know, there's anxiety. Then I had to have lectures with her about, you know, bears, bees, snakes, and all the things I did not want her to do. Because the last thing I wanted was that call that said, hey, we're on your way to the, you know, emergency room with your daughter, you know, meet us in Fresno or whatever the plan would be. So I definitely had way more anxiety about it than my kid. My kid was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Give me like some money and I'll see you in 2 months. And right now, the biggest fight we're having is she wants to go for the entire summer. And having to back her up. So it's been amazing. She comes like the first time I picked her up, I thought, okay, 2 weeks is a long time. She'll be so excited to see me. And I saw her from a distance, a wave, and she kind of looked around at her friends, and she came over and said, "You miss me?" And she said, "Nope." And she said, "Do you want to see the camp?" I said, "Sure." Like no hug. But she wanted to drag me to every square inch of that camp, all the way up to the waterfall and back, the rock where everybody sleeps at night and back. I had to do the obstacle course. She wanted me to climb the tower of power or whatever. And she had to tell me like everything that had happened along every stage. And but like watching her glow, like I was like, okay, I'm really glad I did this. It was worth me like having to worry a little bit about her. And is my phone ringing? And is my phone on? And can you reach me if you need me? And then the second year I had less anxiety. And I think my wife had zero the entire time. I'll be out, I promise, in a minute. Oh, I know you're looking for me. I have to run. But yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing experience. Now it's just a matter of how long does she get to go this summer? That's become the hard issue is can she stay forever or not? And I'm trying to battle against forever. But it's been amazing. What I love about it as a parent, what's given me like what helped with my anxiety was the fact that that phone always gets answered, and everybody's very transparent about what's happening. They entertain my questions about fire escape and all this other silliness that I wanted to ask about. But there was always someone there. Like if I had called and had emails that weren't returned or voicemails that returned, I think it would have been a lot harder. But the voice on the other end of the phone is always very welcoming, very reassuring, to the point where you think they've probably answered this question. They probably have 9,000 times, but they don't act like that and treat you like that, make you feel silly. So having that instant connection makes a huge difference. So
Yeah, that's
I'll stop talking now.
that's great. You're cracking me up because so much of what you're saying is what we hear from our families. You're speaking exactly to so much of the experience. And I'm so grateful that you've taken a moment out of your day of surgeries to join us. Let me just ask you one quick question, then we'll get you on our way. You covered so many important topics. I'm curious for you, knowing that you're speaking to, often first-time parents who are going to be sitting in the same shoes that you were sitting in as you were asking those questions. What would you say to encourage a new parent who's considering sending their camper, for the very first time, and they're feeling all those same nerves that you felt as well?
I think that the benefit you see when your child comes home feeling confident that they've done this thing, which is kind of a big deal at that age, makes whatever anxiety you can't suppress, it makes it worth it. Like I said, the transparency, the instant access that you basically have to camp to ask questions when you're concerned alleviates like the other 90%. And then for me, like I drive my kids to camp because I like the experience and it gives me an excuse to go see Yosemite. And I really like the idea of being there. I mean, we stayed at the hotel like right across the street. And so by the time we had been there for 48 hours, I felt super comfortable knowing where we were. And now we look forward to going every year. We go like a couple days early, stay a couple days late. I think it's the Pines or something like that. We're like regulars there now, even though I can't remember the exact name. But no, it's I would say even if you're coming from the East Coast and that's not really an easy solution, the instant access to the team to ask questions about before you get there, while their kids are there, just makes it very reasonable. And when you see that look on their face of, hey, I got through this, I'm really excited and I can't wait to go back, it's a no-brainer. I mean, send your kids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And send them early. Fifth grade's too late. Send them at second and third grade. I mean, I think if I don't want her to have any regrets. Like the fact that she'll get to go for like 10 years or whatever it's going to add up to is going to be an amazing thing for her to look back on her life and her growth experience. So I suspect she's going to eventually have to be told she can't come anymore because she's too old.
And then she'll just join us on staff.
Yeah.
So
there we go. And now she just needs a cute nickname, but I have my own for her. You have to make up your own. I have to run. I apologize. But I would say it's been one of the most impactful parts of her little young life, the confidence and the excitement and the joy, the bonding. I mean, everything about it is magical. It's a no-brainer. Stop. If you're thinking about it, stop debating it. Just do it. It's amazing.
Thank you, Justin.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Feel free to
Bye, everybody.
stop. Yes.
Bye now.
Oh man, I just love
His candor.
I love his candor. I love Carolyn, his daughter. Her tenacity. She knew she was ready, and she was ready for that kind of experience. So I'm so grateful for families like the West, Justin and his wife Lisa, who can speak so honestly to the very real experience of sending, their kids to camp. And I know now their youngest son is wanting to come too. So the more the merrier for sure. The reality is, man, most families feel at least some semblance of nerves sending their kid to camp for the very first time. It doesn't matter how ready the child is. You heard from Justin, Carolyn was ready to go. She practically had her bags packed. She might have been packing her dad's bags at that point. Doesn't matter how ready your children are, whether they've been to other summer camps, what experiences they've had. It's always uncomfortable to do something for the very first time. It just is. And it's probably one of the biggest reasons our families hesitate to send their kids to camp. It's not necessarily the location or, wanting certain activities or even finances, although that's a big contribution. Prioritizing financially the investment of summer camp, that's a huge aspect. But most times it actually comes down to the unfamiliarity of camp and the discomfort, like Justin said, getting over our anxieties, right, of doing something for the very first time.
And then how often do we hear a camper or a parent say, oh, I wish we didn't wait that long?
Yeah.
Because we only have 3 more years to go or 4 more years to go.
Yeah.
That's a really common thing.
Yeah.
But man, we can understand that apprehension.
Yes, absolutely. And so when it comes to the nervousness of not knowing us, families, I don't know you. I'm not ready to trust you. Let me tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. It's true. There will probably always be some nerves the night before. Justin talked to that as you help your kiddo, get their final items in their duffel bag. There will be some nerves, absolutely. But we long to know our families and to partner with them in a way that can leave you confident and ready to entrust us with your children. And so it's one of the reasons why we bother to tackle this conversation in this Zoom. We invite you to get to know us. Like Justin said, we are always trying to make sure we're answering that phone. The number of calls that we get surrounding the things that, parents are concerned about, we want to connect with you. We want you to know our mission. We want you to know our programs, the adults that are in charge that are going to be taking care of your children. You don't need to make this leap of faith by sending your kids somewhere unfamiliar by yourself. We want to partner with you in that process. So I could talk about this unique partnership that sets us apart, all day long. But let me touch on a few of the key questions that many of our first-time parents typically ask us. And actually, Justin started to allude to them. And then Sarah will cover some tried and true tips of helping parents navigate some of that first-time nerves. So the number one thing, this is not going to come as a shocker to anyone, the number one thing that our parents usually call us about, that raise that level of nervousness surrounding, considering a camp for the first time is safety and security. We're not surprised. Is my child going to be safe and secure when I send them to camp? So a couple of things that we often reassure our families. If you were to call us and ask us these questions, this is what we would talk about. YSSC is an accredited camp. And so when when we talk about being an accredited camper, accredited with the American Camping Association. And I won't go into all the details of what that means, but essentially there are over 300 plus standards for conducting an excellent camp and administration, facilities, staffing, and program. It all helps us to be our very best. And I was so proud of our staff this last summer. We accredited many years ago, and every year we continue to demonstrate our keeping up with those standards. And then every few years we actually have visitors come to camp and accredit us. And there's a certain margin that you can kind of miss of those 300 standards and still pass. And we passed every single standard because that's who we are. We want to be our very best. You know, we have fire alarm systems, we have first aid kits, we have on-site RNs and additional nursing students. We have staff members that are WWOOFer certified, Wilderness First Response certified. We have well-trained people, AUDs, all the good things that that make us equipped for anything that you know, any need that would arise. We certainly have lots of emergency preparation, whether we practice with our staff many times at the beginning of summer, and then all throughout we practice as an all camp when your kids are there, what it would look like to respond if an emergency situation arose. You know, we are constantly in touch with our families. If anything comes up, Justin mentioned fire season, that's a reality. You are going to hear from us long before you even hear from something on the news or anything like that. You know, we're in communication with our families, keeping you up to date. And for the most part, it's usually just letting them know how many miles far away the fire is, or if there's air pollution or anything. You don't need to, you know, question. We will be in touch with you. You know, we have roughly 65 to 70 staff members on campus at any given moment. And we have about 125 campers that we work with each session. So if you do that math, that's a 2-to-1 ratio. And we have that ratio because we prioritize supervision. We do our very best to provide thoughtful supervision for our campers. And the way that we hire our staff is a lengthy and rigorous process where they are screened, their background checked, they're interviewed multiple times. We've got several references. They are carefully chosen. They are trained, invested in. So we have a really high bar for our staff, and we're pretty unapologetic about it. So, you know, we have gone to great lengths to run an excellent, high quality summer camp. And we are always learning. Like I said, we're involved with several associations. And so whether we're learning from best practices from other camps, or we're learning from our parents who point out different things, and we get to actually learn from you guys. That's why we love this partnership and relationship. We invite you to speak into things if you have ideas, or if you notice something that can be improved. Call us or come visit us when we are running, like Justin said, you know, driving his kids up and down. We welcome all of it. So, but don't we wish that with all that information, our nerves would just vanish, right? It is still, even with all the best information, it can be really helpful. And yet, that nervousness of packing the final things in the duffel bag the night before can still arise. And so, Sarah, why don't you share with us a little bit of your kind of tried and true tips for working through some of those pre-camp anxieties?
Sure. Thanks for listing all those groovy things. You know, health, safety, security is our utmost priority. And still, as a mama, I have those feelings. So, here are a few tips that I hope will address some of those issues for you. It has helped me and many parents I've talked to really take a moment to name the worry, like really be specific about it. So it's not like this looming dread, but is it wildfire? Okay, well, let's talk about how we're prepared for that, how we're in touch with all emergency services before the summer starts and throughout the summer and all the things, so that you would know we're prepared for those instances. We had a moment when a parent called already in the car driving up because, bless her heart, she had heard on the news that there was a fire near Yosemite and didn't realize how enormous that national park is. So that fire was 90 minutes drive away, and we didn't have even air quality issues, but that panic, of, oh, should I get in? Should I come pick up? So we reassured her that we would let her know if we were in harm's way, and she could turn around and go home, and we were doing well. I get it. So is wildfire the concern? Is it a disaster? Call us. Let us share how we might respond to that. But also, maybe the issue is I really struggle when my child is uncomfortable or lonesome, or like, what if they don't remember to brush their teeth, or what if they don't make any friends?
Yeah.
These are all calls we get,
Mhm.
and know that, we're a small camp on purpose. We choose to be the size we are so we can attend so personally. So once we name what the fear is, then we can practice telling the truth about it. Am I hyper focusing on an uncommon or unlikely disaster?
Yeah.
What is the truth about it? What's the likelihood and the reality? I also would encourage us to remember that it is through challenge that human beings grow.
Mhm.
So if I go to camp and I don't know anyone, I will be even more positioned to make a new friend, to learn those friendship building skills. And I have a counselor who's all in for me. He or she is going to help me make those friends and those connections. If I'm concerned about my child who might be reticent and slow to warm up and maybe apprehensive about trying new things, know that camp is so programmed to help kids take a risk and try something new. And so that transferable skill of, I can try something new and I can brush myself off and try again. That challenge is what helps us grow. That maybe roll into my second tip, which would be, when I keep the big picture in mind. Right now, I might be frightened for my kiddo, even as they head off to college, which two of mine are in college right now. When I keep the big picture in mind, that ultimately I want them to grow to be young adults who are confident and have healthy independence, know how to get along with people who are different than themselves, like to try new things, have learned empathy, have learned to find that adventurous spirit that helps them be resilient in new situations. When I keep the big picture in mind, as Justin mentioned, it is worth my anxious feelings because I long for them to have the benefit. So man, if we can help you keep the big picture in mind, we'd love to help with that. In fact, Savannah is going to post a couple articles in the chat that might be good resources for you that just name some of the researched benefits of having a child go away to a quality summer camp. And those things show up regularly, all the time, dependably, through the camp experience. So I hope that might be helpful with that big picture view.
I love what Justin said. He said, to see the glow and the look on her face when she came back, it was well worth my experience. I long for that for our families.
Yeah,
sure.
it is true. Something else to think about, just tip wise, our children read our own anxiety. They tend to mirror and mimic what we are anxious about. And so as an anxious parent, I would encourage us to be thoughtful about how we show that, because a kiddo who's so excited or mostly excited for that new experience can dampen their own enthusiasm as they attend to their parents' worry. And we have had kiddos swing into homesickness, which is very common, and we get to tackle it with kids. It's super cool when that happens. But some will stay a little homesick longer because they're worried that their parents are worried. So that also is kind of an encouragement for me that I want to tackle my worry so that I don't leak it into my kids, experience as well. Another, just two more tips. It is super helpful, I think, for parents who are anxious to make sure that they have given camp all the relevant information that we would need to provide a terrific experience of well-being for their child. So, for example, if your child is still struggling with bedwetting, we have a fabulous no shame system for bedwetting, but we need to know in advance. So make sure that's written in their health history. If they struggle with reading out loud or reading in general, we want to know that so the counselor can make sure there's never a situation where kids are reading out loud and that child might be embarrassed. Let's act things out instead of reading them. We can do that adjustment. Let us know if your child is a picky eater so we can be prepared and help coach them to try some new foods and new dishes. It's amazing how many picky eaters eat well at camp.
It's true.
I don't know. It's a miracle, but it happens all the time. If your child is especially susceptible to mosquito bites or they sleepwalk, we can work with all of these things if you let us know. So do partner with us, and we hope that that will build your confidence and lower your anxiousness. The last thing that I would give as a tip is I remember wrestling, and I've talked to many parents who are like, I think I'm ready, but I'm so worried that my child will feel anxious. So they're kind of feeling their child's a little bit of worry. Have your child help prepare for camp. For example, have them practice a sleepover. How did that feel? Do you think you can do it again? Right? It's so good to know I can do that. Have them practice choosing their own clothes. We never mind when a camper doesn't match, and half the time I don't match. And you know what? It's absolutely fine at camp.
Perfect.
But if that's a worry for them, then practice having them choose clothes that they're wear that day. And again, there's a counselor right there that can guide them. It's a little chilly outside, so we're going to wear long sleeves today. Or the mosquitoes are out during campfire, we're going to put a hoodie on. Those little items. Have your kiddo practice. Have them practice putting on sunscreen. Gosh, our counselors are going to help. But a child feels good when they don't miss that part behind their, on their little necks. Let them help pack the bag, label the tags on the shirts and pack in that bag so that when they get to camp, they actually know where their underwear is. We've had many a camper report, I didn't bring underwear. And all the while it was in the side pocket.
Yes.
So as we know that our kids are ready and more equipped, as their questions get answered too, then we can exhale a little bit more and say, I've done my part. Now I'm going to partner with this camp who's got eyes and a heart for my kid to blossom and grow.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And please know, y'all, gosh, if you have more concerns and questions, call us. It's all about partnership. Call us. We'll be so happy to talk each other through those steps,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sticking with us through some technical difficulties. I know we're coming to the end of that half-hour mark, but I know that we do have some questions, I believe. So, Savannah, what questions can we take a couple more minutes to answer?
Yes. Okay. I have a couple questions. I'm going to hop alongside you too. This is a question I actually get quite often. It's, I feel anxious as the parent. I'm already aware of that. How can I stay in touch with my camper when she's away? Can I call her? What are ways that I can have connection and communication with her?
Want to take this? Sure, I'd be happy to. Super common questions. Whoever sent that in, thank you so much. So your child is away for 2 weeks having a really big experience, and we really want to allow them to stay in that space. We are a no tech camp on purpose, giving our kids a break from being attached to that phone, and they really revel and thrive in that space. But we don't want parents to feel disconnected. It's really a huge priority for us. So we will send emails before and after every session. We'll send a newsletter midway through. This is what's going on at camp. We post photos every day of activities and a variety of campers. So you get the feeling of what's going on. We hope to have a picture of your child posted at least every other day. Sometimes you'll get a few in a day, or sometimes you'll catch an every day. But we do have 3 on our media team, 3 staff members, and they're trying to capture lots and lots of children and lots of activities. And so we hope that helps you feel like you're there a little bit. Additionally, you are super welcome to email or snail mail your camper daily if you want. Our children, our campers, then can snail mail back. So you can provide them with pre-addressed, even pre-stamped postcards or letters and envelopes if you'd like. But we also have those supplies available at camp so they can write you anytime. I think also be reassured if something comes up, we're going to be in touch with you. If there's something more than, the standard, Band-Aid on the knee, if your child has, say, a fever or an ongoing cough, our health center, it's called Club Med, our nurse is going to call you and let you know if it's a bigger deal. Or if they arrive, we've had some kids last summer arrive with earaches and ear infections. Hey, are you good? We would like to take them into town to the doctor there and have it looked at and get a medication for you. And we will dispense that. Are you good with that? So no, we're going to be in touch if anything unusual happens. And then after the session, you are going to receive a letter from your child's counselor telling you their perspective of your camper's experience. You will hopefully already have had lots of stories coming from your own kids and songs and all the things, but to have a counselor say, this is how I saw them grow. This is how they contributed to their cabin. It's a really meaningful bit of info. We will also send you a survey. We really want your feedback. What have you seen in your child? How do we improve? And finally, I would just say, Savannah Popcorn and her team in the office, they are there to answer the phone when you have concerns. I haven't seen my child's photo in a while. I've noticed that he hasn't combed his hair in a couple days. Can you arrange for that? I saw a photo and they looked distracted. Is everything okay? It might have been a candid photo. We will go check on your kiddo incognito. They won't know. And then we'll report back. So we don't want you to feel disconnected, even though your camper cannot call you. Because of the kind of experience we're providing for them, we want you to feel connected. One last thing about camper phone calls with parents. 9 times out of 10, it kicks up homesickness. It does. And that's one of the main reasons most camps don't allow that piece, because it pulls a camper out of their space and out of their experience and causes homesickness. It also causes jealousy within a cabin. They got to talk, but I didn't get to talk. And so those 2 things, we really want to, make sure that those 2 things don't bubble up in a cabin. So work with us and we will do our best to help you feel connected.
Yeah, it's definitely because there's so much research around the normalcy of a camper experiencing homesickness in the first 48 hours of camp. It is super common. We work through it. We train our staff on it all the time for a camper, because you are a safe place for them as their parent to write home in the first 48 hours and say, oh man, I'm having trouble making friends, or I'm missing you a lot, or whatever that looks like. And then for parents to call in once they get that letter, several days later, maybe 3 days later, to call in and just ask, hey, can I get an update? My daughter mentioned that she was homesick. Can you check in on her? We are so happy to do that. And 9 times out of 10, when we go and follow up with that camper, oh, I'm better. I feel better, or we talk to their counselor. Oh, yep. That first 24 hours, she was a little sad, but we talked through it and she is thriving now. So that's the most common experience. They recover from that very quickly. But call us, connect, and we'll do those little check-ins and take care of your kiddo.
I did want to add something, just kind of around snail mail. I love receiving snail mail now, and when I was a camper at YSSC, I loved it as well. Now, did my mom receive snail mail from me? Not so much. I, utilized our quiet time after lunch to take a nap, to just relax. But I just wanted to let you all know, and I let parents know, that in the middle of a session, we do have a mid-summer check-in. It's kind of like an ad lib where they fill in the wacky characters they've seen in night games and things like that. So you will get some form of letter from your child, because my mom packed me plenty of pre-addressed envelopes that I just didn't send. So just know that that does happen. And another thing that you could do is you can actually make sure your child knows how to address an envelope. We do coach our campers prior to the start of a session, because you'd be surprised. I get to go on a little recon mission and find out, where does grandma live? I get to call those parents and just double check to make sure what their camper wrote down is right. So even like sending a list of addresses that they can mail to is really helpful. But just know that campers want to be in touch with you. We'll make sure you at least hear from them in mail form in the middle of the session. So yeah, mail's great, but sometimes it could be a little funky. Well, my last question for you all is one that could be answered briefly. This one tends to come up pretty often, but friend requests at camp. If you're a parent who's anxious and your camper has a friend they want to go to camp with, that'll ease your anxiousness. Sarah and Jessica, what is your response to that question regarding cabin mate requests?
Yeah, so I am going to answer that quickly because I want to honor everybody's time who's come. So we actually are going to talk about that more in depth next mornings on the porch, when we start talking about some of the forms that you're going to see, as you enroll your camper. So one of the forms that we have is a cabin mate request, and that is a perfect place to list one or two. I say that again.
One or two.
One or two cabin mate requests. Folks that perhaps your camper would love to share a cabin with. So that's a perfect place to put a cabin mate request. If you have any additional information that you're wanting to give to us, again, most answers to the questions are give us a call. We love to answer. We love to talk to our parents. So give us a call if you have any additional concerns. But submit that cabin mate request, and we'll talk more about that next mornings on the porch.
Awesome. Yes, the next Mornings on the Porch is March 27th, and we will be covering the fun topic of forms and other favorite fine points. I love this topic, so I can't wait to talk more about that with our parents. Thank you everyone for attending and bearing with us with our technical difficulties. You will receive a recording of this video to look back on, share with a friend, share with your neighbor, and also the resources that we added in the chat as well. So you'll receive that this week. Thank you again for joining us for this month's Mornings on the Porch.
Have a great day.
Yes,
Bye.
thanks.